Hello, my name is Sarah. I'm on the National Support Team for OGCDP, and in this session I will explain to you more about the personal talk. So what exactly is the personal talk and what has to happen during the personal talk. And after this session you should feel prepared to actually have a meeting with your EP and have the personal talk. And you should know what the goals of the personal talk are and how to select your EP. So what exactly is the personal talk and why do we have it? The personal talk is a meeting between you, the EP buddy, and your EP, so your exchange participant, the person who wants to go abroad with ISEC. And the goal of the personal talk is to select a suitable EP. So there are different aspects to that. And first of all, in the meeting, the EP gets to know you, his buddy, and he gets to know a little bit more about ISEC. And you, on the other hand, get to know the EP and his motivation, why he wants to go abroad, and also his expectations. And this is a very important point of the personal talk because you have to make sure that the EP has expectations that we can actually meet, and you have to set the right expectations. It is also a meeting in which you can support the EP with the whole process that he has to go through, and it is the first step in that process. It is also the first step to make sure that the EP will enjoy his experience abroad and he will have a good impression of the support he gets and the experience he has with ISEC. Okay, so what exactly happens during the personal talk? We have, of course, an introduction part where you introduce yourself to your EP, and you can have some small talk, you can offer him tea, coffee, water, whatever. And then we have an interview part that is about getting to know the EP. So you don't have to call it an interview, but we have some guideline questions for you. And yeah, this part is, as I already mentioned, about getting to know the EP, his motivation to go abroad, and his expectations towards his project and towards ISEC. And in the next part, in the expectation setting part, you can come back to a few of the things the EP said, you can clarify things, you can set the expectations that we can actually meet and the things that we offer. And then you should have a question and answer part where the EP can ask questions again and everything that's still unclear can be answered. And then if you feel that the EP is somebody we want to send abroad, you can select him or her and you can go on with the next steps. So you can explain the further process and give some support in finding an internship. And then after all of this happened and the EP went home, you should send a follow-up email that includes all the information you gave him or her during the personal talk. In the next part of this session, you can read through the interview guideline questions that we have collected for you. You can, of course, talk to your VP or team leader about guidelines you should use in your local committee. And when you do the interview, please keep the goal of all of this in mind, which is to select a suitable EP. So this means you can adapt the questions you ask. You don't have to ask all of the questions. You don't have to ask them in the order that they are presented. And if the EP talks a lot about his experience and you have a question that comes back to something he already said, you, for example, don't have to ask this question necessarily again. And the guideline questions we have are clustered according to topics, and those topics should be covered during the personal talk. And this way you can also see how the EP responds towards certain topics, and we have also collected some of the characteristics that you can draw from the answers that he gives. And for example, you can see how mature or how open-minded the EP is from. So after you asked your EP all the questions you wanted to know during the interview part, you can now have the expectation setting with the EP. And this is actually one of the most important parts of the personal talk. and you can come back to things the EP said during the interview, and if the EP mentions expectations that are very unrealistic, you need to address them now and to clarify actually what ISAC can offer. And you also have to clarify the responsibilities of ISAC and of the EP. So the EP, for example, needs to know that he's very much responsible for the experience he has abroad, and he needs to be very proactive. And the situations mentioned in the interview part, problems abroad, can actually happen, and the EP needs to know this. So, for example, it can happen that he's not picked up from the airport. So this isn't a really big deal if the EP kind of expects that this might happen, and he has a backup plan. He has a phone number and contact information, maybe an address. And then if he gets there, it's not a big deal. He can just take a cab or call a person. If he gets to the airport and expects somebody to be there and this doesn't happen, it's a pretty big deal if he doesn't know what to do and he doesn't have any contact information. So this is not necessarily about having bad experiences, just being prepared for what might happen. And so try to be honest, but don't scare the EP away. Most of the things that can happen are not necessarily bad, as I said. So they might be normal for that country, and the EP just needs to know about those things. So having a good expectation setting is actually the basis for a successful exchange experience. And you as an EP buddy can actually do a lot to make sure that the EP has a good experience by being there for him, by supporting the EP during his time abroad, and by after you did all of this and you now got an overview if the EP is suitable or not to go abroad with us, you can tell him or her if they are selected. And if you do select the EP, it's pretty easy. You just say that you think the expectations match very well with the program that we offer, and you think the EP will have a great time abroad, and then go on explaining the next steps. And if not, this can usually be seen very easily just because the expectations of the EP just don't match with what ISAC offers. And if the EP, for example, wants to go work in a project in New York, you can just say right away when the EP says that this is not something that we can offer, and explain the program that we do have. Maybe the EP is interested in that, and if not, you have to let the EP know that he will not be able to go abroad with us. And if you're unsure, you can also tell the EP that you will call or write an email the next day. So if you're really not sure if this is somebody you want to send abroad and you want to discuss afterward, you can explain the next steps, so the further process the EP has to go through. And for that, you should show the EP the AGB and the XPP, so the German and the international contract that the EP has to sign, and explain the most important information that is in there. There's actually a lot of information in there, and a lot of things are clarified that could happen to the EP. And also the responsibilities of ISAC and the EP are clarified in the XPP. So you should read those contracts to know what's in there, and then explain to the EP that he has to sign the AGB and upload them to EP Online, which is also called My Experience Online sometimes. So this is the front office of Salesforce, and when the EP uploads the AGB there, you can later on see them in Salesforce. Or, of course, the EP can also just send them to you and you upload them. Then the EP has to pay the fee of 350 euros. Tell him to pay within the next 3 days, because the sooner we get the money, the sooner the EP can be officially matched with the project and go abroad. So the limit in the AGB is actually 14 days. So do remind the EP of that. And you can also show the EP the upcoming dates for outdoor preparation seminars, and the EP can already see when he can attend one of those seminars. And then afterwards, you should send a follow-up email with all of those informations in written form again. So we have an example follow-up email here, so you can also send the link to My Experience Online again, the EP will get an automatic email from Salesforce with a password at some point, and also send the bank account information. And also in the follow-up email is mentioned that you will send an EP booklet with that, and the EP booklet will explain the whole EP support flow from the perspective of the EP. So for example, how to register at the Opportunity portal if the EP hasn't done that so far, also how to apply for internship, and how the portal works in general. It will also include the touch points between the EP and you, and also quality standards in the home and the host country. Another thing that is included is what happens if the EP has a quality case. So we call it a quality case if the EP has a problem abroad and needs help. So he gets a list of who to contact at what point of that process. And then also again the necessity of attending an outdoor preparation seminar and a welcome home seminar. So the EP is prepared that when he comes back, he has to attend a welcome home seminar, and this is actually a great way for him to reflect on the experience.